Hi guys, in these series of videos I'm going to explain how to use Zbrush, and I'm going to start with the interface. I'm trying to make a series of videos that are going to be relatively short in their duration, so we can understand some of the concepts of how to use Zbrush. I'm going to start with the interface and some sculpting techniques. Um, and so here we can see a bunch of tools, and it can be kind of intimidating. When we start ZBrush for R7, it usually opens and we can see the light box, which is this window that has a bunch of tools and textures and a bunch of materials that um, we can start sculpting with. To open this, to open and close it, we just click on the light box up here on the left top corner. Or you can actually use the hotkey, the comma, on the keyboard to open or close the light box. We're going to use some of the tools over here. And before we do that, I'm just going to show you this simple brush tool, which is a 2.5D brush that was the initial brush that came with ZBrush in the beginning of its development. Of course, a lot of things have changed, but they actually kept this tool, and we'll see how we can use it later on for some concept. If we want to clear the canvas, this is the canvas area here. If we want to clear it, we press Ctrl N. So you can do as much as you can, as you want, and you can draw, and then if you want to clean it, you press Ctrl N. I'm going to open the light box using the comma key, and I'm going to try to work on a polysphere. So I'm going to double click on that, and notice that there's a .ztl. That means that's a Z tool. A lot of the things that we're going to be working on ZBrush are going to be saved as Z tools. To get the light box out of the way, I'm going to press the comma, and I'm going to click and drag that sphere with using the Wacom pen tablet, and I would recommend you guys use that. But then I can keep doing that infinitely, and I see more spheres. So we're actually not in a three-dimensional canvas right now. We're working on a 2.5D flat canvas. And how can we get out of this situation here and start sculpting? Well, we can actually, let's clear the canvas, Control N, and make the sphere one more time. Now, if I start clicking again, I'm going to have more spheres, so I don't want that. And notice up here there's this edit object, or T. Anytime you go to any of these buttons and stay for a second, you see that there's a shortcut next to the description of the tool. So for instance, this is a scale tool. If you press E, that's the scale tool shortcut. So if I want to edit this sphere, I can click here, and things have changed. Now I'm like in a three-dimensional canvas, and I can actually start sculpting on the sphere. I can move around and keep sculpting. The first sculpting tool that the ZBrush gives you is the standard brush, and I'll explain how we can move around and sculpt on this object. So before I get deeper into the interface, I'm going to explain something. Up here there's this line that is the history. Well, we have thousands of undos in this new version of ZBrush, so you can actually press Command Z, or you can scroll this until you go back to the beginning. One of the cool things about ZBrush is that we have a lot of possibilities of working with different shapes, initial primitive shapes, and we can also use symmetry tools, and all that is going to be explained in this series of videos. But for now, I'm going to look into some navigation. First, the navigation tools are here, so you can actually either frame the object, or move, or scale, or rotate around the object. I barely use them. I just learned how to use the shortcuts instead. So if you click outside not on the object, because if you click on the object, you're going to start sculpting the object. If you click outside of the object, you start arcing around it. Now, if you use the Option key or Alt, hold on the Alt key, you can actually pan. So that's like a great way to pan around the object, and then you can actually, now the thing is, if you do that on the object, it's not going to pan. So basically what you want to do is, instead of clicking around, I use the right click, so I'm right clicking and I can move around, or Alt and right click to pan around, so that will not affect the object and will not sculpt on the surface, because when you click on here, it's going to eventually sculpt. So holding on the Option key and right click, I'm panning. Only the right click is going to arc around. And now for the zoom, that's a little bit difficult for now. Now, if you hold on the Alt key and you pan, and then you let go of the Alt key, you can actually zoom in or out and let go. So that's a little bit of a two-step way of navigating. I'm going to undo all this, and I'm going to start sculpting, and then I can explain how we navigate at the same time. So we have a standard brush. There's like hundreds of brushes here, so we should not get too crazy. We will use eventually most of them in these tutorials, but I'm going to start with a standard brush and start sculpting this object. Now I can actually, let's say I wanted to make a quick face here, but I want to do use the symmetry. So for the symmetry, you go to the transform, hold down menu, and you go down and you activate symmetry. Now activate symmetry, anything you go and mouse over it, any button, you're going to see next to the command the shortcut. So X is activating the symmetry. So now we have symmetry around the X. So let's see where that gives us. This is the front of the sphere, so here's the X. So basically that's how you can activate. Now the Y is, now we have X and Y, so we have like activated two axes of symmetry, meaning that I can do something like that. But I only want the X for now, so I'm going to take out the Y. And notice that when I click, I add clay, this digital clay. So when let's say I want to subtract, so now up here you see Z add, so it's actually adding material. Z sub, subtracting material. So let's say I'm going to go and use Z sub, and I'm going to do that. Now it's a little bit of an intense stroke here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start smoothing this around. So to smooth stuff, you can actually go and use the smooth brush over here, or I barely go and use that. I'm just, the smooth brush is always activated if you just press Shift, and then you can actually start smoothing in certain areas. So now I'm like smoothing in certain areas of this. So some of them I'm going to leave sharp, some of them I'm going to smooth them down. So I can use and then I can keep going with the Z sub tool and just smooth this area. Now if I want to make the brush tool smaller in size, so this is my brush tool, I can just right click and we can see a bunch of stuff that I'm going to explain later, but this is the drawing size, this is the focal shift. The focal shift is some sort of it's a fall off for the brush tool. So the closer these two are together, let's show you this, the closer they are, the sharper the stroke. The further away they are from each other, the smoother the stroke, you can see here. I'm going to undo those two, and then I'm going to go and smooth this area around here. Now, in order to get this, I think, in order to get this to work, in a smaller area, I would need to right-click and make my drawing size smaller, but it's easier if you just press S and get this smaller. Now, for the focal shift is 0, and for the Z intensity, the strength of the brush is U, the RGB intensity is I. So all of these are like brush stroke attributes. So now I'm going to hold on the Shift key and I'm going to start smoothing in this area here. And now I can actually go ahead and add a little bit more here. Actually, now I need to go and use the Z add. I always use the Z add, and let's see. So let's say I'm just creating like sort of nose, just so what I'm doing is just adding and using the shift key to smooth everything out, and I can keep adding and smoothing. So this is like very like concept sketch. And it's moving around. So I'm just like using this, only the standard brush for now. Of course, a combination of brushes is going to give us a better starting point for this, but I'm not going to go through that right at this moment. Now there's another way to navigate. If I click and hold the shift key, so I'm right click, shift key, it's going to go to side view, top view, so you can see how we can actually move around this object. Okay, so now let me add a couple of more things. So I can press S for the drawing size, O for the focal shift, and then now instead of going to switch these together, the Z sub is just clicking Option and just clicking. Now if you want to add, you just let go of the option and you can add. So, and then we can hold the shift key to kind of like smooth things out. So this is for the first tutorial, just to see how we can navigate around using right click only, option and right click to pan, option, right click, and let go of the option to zoom in or out, and then let go. So those are the navigation tools. Those are the brush tools up here, Z add, Z sub, all the intensity and focal shift. They're the same tools that you see here, but you should learn quickly how to utilize the shortcut, like S for the drawing size, O for the focal shift, and then we have I for the RGB intensity, and Z and U for the Z intensity. So I'm going to stop the video here, and in the next video we're going to look into more sculpting techniques.